Hey, welcome back to the Golden Spoon Podcast. I'm McCall,
And I'm Jeremy.
and today and this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, the theme for 2023 is Look Around, Look Within. And so, we really are going to focus in on that. Of course, this podcast being what it is, we want to focus on you and your personal growth journey and your mental health journey. So, with that, we will start with this episode. So, how has your journey been, Jeremy?
Honestly, it's been decent. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it hadn't been fantastic. It was a really rough beginning for my mental health journey, as far as gathering my mental health together better, getting a better look at it, understanding the reasons why I act the way I do, think the way I do, perform the way I do. It started back when I was 25. I had my first episode when I went psychotic. And for those of you who don't know, for those of you who don't know, if this is your first episode, I have bipolar 1, which we suffer or survive, as I like to say, daily with mania and depression. And they come in many different forms, the different forms of bipolar, the different forms of mania and depression. There's rapid cycling. You can have them both at the same time. You can have them, roller coaster throughout the day of up and down. You can be depressed for 6 months and have mania for 2 months. I mean, like I said, it's the vast majority of everything. And I've had them pretty much all, is what sucks. Being bipolar 1, rapid cycling with major depression, all that. I've had some pretty horrible experiences with depression, and I've had some amazing times with mania, but there are always repercussions of those amazing times because it feels like you're on top of the world and like you're literally God pretty much, or you think you are at least. And so you like do all these crazy things, and you spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a credit card because I don't know, it's like such a euphoric feeling. It's crazy. But then there's a crash with that. And then after that is when depression hits. And then you're looking back at everything that you did. Crap, I got to pay that $3,000 credit card off somehow. I can't take back the things that I bought because they're, non-refundable. Things like that. So let's say you are in mania and then you go a little bit further past mania. And it's where the chemicals get a little bit more out of whack than they should. Definitely when you're unmedicated and you tip over after you have like a trigger or something that really sets it off, or at least it was for me. Both experiences I've had with psychosis, but you tip over from mania to psychosis, which is being full-blown psychotic. That's that horrible word that everyone hears. You hear it in movies. Like, you're going psychotic.
One of the stigma words that we're trying to...
Yeah, it's not like I picked up a knife and just wanted to start just like mutilating everybody. That's not what psychotic is. Psychotic is just you're in the form of psychosis at the moment. You basically have no control of what's going on. It's kind of being almost like blacked out drunk in a way, but like not in a good way. I don't ever remember anything that I do when I'm in psychosis. I parade around like a parking lot, like screaming my lungs out and all this other stuff. And I've almost had the police tase me because they thought I was like on drugs, which kind of find out after they test me at the hospital I wasn't. And normally end up getting either put in the back of an ambulance or the back of a police car, and you get hospitalized for an extended period of time until they get you adjusted. And that's what happened to me when I was 25. Went into psychosis, was in it for a pretty good while, about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, until someone found me. And because I was driving around, unfortunately, which is even more scary, and I don't even remember that. And they got me to the hospital, and I spent an extended period of time there, like around 2 weeks. And unfortunately, the hospital I was at didn't diagnose me. So they just let me go saying, hey, He kind of like had a midlife crisis, at 25. Here's some Klonopin. He'll be all right. See you in another year or two or something. I don't know. That didn't work out.
Yeah.
I had a lot more worse experiences. Had another psychotic break at 27 and got sent to another mental institution, which was great, believe it or not, as weird as that sounds, because they diagnosed me right away. That's when I found out I was bipolar. At the moment, they diagnosed me bipolar mixed, basically like in between of bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Spent not as long there, and they got me adjusted, got me on the right meds, and then like felt like a switch went off in my brain when they started putting me on the medicine that I needed to be on. Got discharged. Not gonna lie, I mean, I took my medicine for a while and everything. I was doing good. I did get off my meds for a little bit, and actually didn't get hospitalized by someone else. I actually drove myself in.
You checked yourself in.
Yeah, because I felt unsafe by myself in my own house because I couldn't trust myself. So I went and checked myself in. They helped me get my meds regulated again, and been living beautifully ever since. Sober and medicated on, psych meds, and seeing my psychiatrist regularly, communicating, being honest about everything. That was another trick, the third go around, is that I was finally completely honest about how everything was actually going on in my brain.
Yeah, you're open and honest about your own situations to the doctors and staff there, and you were able to open up and communicate what was going on inside your brain. You weren't just trying to give them the answers that they wanted to hear.
Yeah, I was at that point, unfortunately, and I don't know if this is a bipolar thing or is this me being stubborn, but at that point, I was tired of it. I gave myself an ultimatum. It was to go the path that I went on, or it was going to be the alternative. I was tired of having to fight against my own brain every day, and basically having to fight to stay alive against myself. And so I was up and honest about everything that was going on, everything that I did in the past. Told her all the stuff that she needed to hear, and it's been working great. Been living a great life. It just goes to show that you can have a really horrible diagnosis, a real horrible journey to get diagnosed. And I know people that it took them 10 years to finally figure out the right medication and everything to be on. But if you stick to it, you can live a quote unquote normal life. I don't think anybody can live a normal life.
Yeah,
normal.
I mean, we've had that debate on here before about is there a normal human being, and I don't think anybody is normal. I think we all try to act normal, but everybody has their own quirks and isms and things that they do. So with the podcast, us being mental health advocates and wanting your success and your story to be your story and be the thing that you look forward to and accomplish. It's all about you. So when you think about it being mental health appreciation and month and mental health month, you want to start off with yourself. I always say you can't take care of other people unless you are taken care of. So it's really, thoughtful of yourself to think, hey, let's get these things checked out. Let's talk to somebody, because it really gets down and digs deep, and the end result is you. So in that, you want to, wherever you want to start with, if you're at the point where, like Jeremy, you give yourself an ultimatum and check yourself into somewhere and go that route, you can go that route. If you want to start off with a counselor, you can start off at that route. If you want to go and see a psychiatrist and start that route, you can. If you want to see a therapist, you can go that route as well.
Even as simple as you want to go to someone who that's diagnosed, maybe within your family or a close friend of yours, and to not be ashamed of thinking that you might have something different about yourself. That's why I said earlier that I don't suffer from bipolar every day. I survive bipolar every day because that's something that I'm proud of. I'm proud to share my story. Yeah, I've done some very horrific things, and thank God that I'm still here and that I still am able to do the things that I can do. But I'm proud of where I'm at. I'm proud of that. I'm not necessarily proud of everything a part of that journey, but I'm proud of the way that journey went, because if it didn't, it wouldn't have put this like seriousness to me. At least I needed that much proof, that much in my face kind of action in order for me to realize that this is who I am. That, yeah, I was raised someone, I was born a certain way, but who I am now is someone who has a chronic illness that is not curable, that the best that I can do is take a medication, and then the rest is up to me. The medication doesn't heal me. The medication is not going to get rid of my bipolar. I still wake up fully medicated and I'm still depressed sometimes, but I have tools and I have ways that I can get past that and be able to make it through that day and then go to sleep and wake up and it be a different day.
Yeah, and with May being Mental Health Awareness Month as well, you have anybody could have mental health disability or incapability of doing something. You could have disorders and stigmas around that. A lot of people have stigmas around mental health, and that's kind of what we're here for. I mean, that's our sole purpose is, well, not our sole purpose, but that's one of the big ticket things that we want to help everybody nationwide, worldwide, think about is that person is not me, and they're going through something that I may not be going through.
I'm going to rant a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't really talk about this much, and I don't know, sometimes it's a touchy subject, but things that like people say that kind of affect people with either bipolar or with a mental illness are just things in society that like me and you want to try to not necessarily get rid of, but for people to think differently on. Like when you have someone at your job who's, they're really good and, they're happy, they're having a good conversation, and then all of a sudden someone comes and tells them something and they get pissed off and they start screaming or something like that. And as soon as they walk away, they're like, man, that guy was, must have bipolar or something, or he's acting bipolar. Like,
Yeah.
that's really, it's like going up to a person with, I don't know, their legs chopped off and then being like, what's up, nubby, or something. Like,
Yeah,
it's an
really
insult to someone.
an offensive thing.
You can't see my illness, but just because you don't know that I have bipolar or not doesn't give you the right to try to diagnose or judge someone. And you're not even diagnosing them. You're just basically coming up with something that you've always heard from someone else and using it as a way to describe somebody, which is that's not a description of a characteristic, thing. That's an actual illness. I don't go and say, oh man, that guy's acting like he's got cancer. Like, that seems pretty offensive to say that.
Yeah,
so treat the bipolar saying the same way. Things like that, or even the smallest word, crazy. That's a hard one for people to stop on. They're like, man, he's so crazy. When they mean it in like an angry or upset way, like you can tell that there's feeling behind it. I mean, I don't like the word crazy. I don't like when someone else calls someone else crazy when they don't know anything about that person, that they could actually have a mental illness, and calling them crazy behind their back is very insulting. And for someone who has a mental illness and hears you, makes me think that much lower of that person for judging them.
Yeah, and sometimes it's people who are misinformed and things like that. So
yeah, that's what we're here for.
You have to, every person is different, so they're not going to be going through the exact same struggle as you are, but they may have similarities to you. So you have to keep that in mind. We're all human, we're all living on this planet, and
I guess the biggest thing was that let's all remember that mental illness is a hidden illness. It's invisible.
Yeah.
So just because I'm not walking in a crutch, or just because, you can tell I've been going through chemo, I've lost all my hair, you're always sympathetic to a person that looks that way. Just because you physically can't see my illness doesn't mean that, I don't have the right to be treated just like a person who has cancer. I'm not looking for empathy or sympathy or anything. I don't want people to feel sorry for me, but don't go around using terms that are in the medical field and in the mental health field just so loosely, like they're, around for everyone to use.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is we had a guest on who had autism, a couple of guests actually who had autism,
Good
and
episodes, real good episodes.
yeah, very good episodes. And one of the autism symbols and stuff like that is a puzzle piece, the missing puzzle piece. It's like
I
find
love
the
that.
yeah, and it's like you don't know what that puzzle piece is because it's a missing thing, but like you have no idea. Somebody like one of our previous guests, Sam. He's a high functioning autistic adult.
Successful, high functioning
Yeah.
adult.
And then Shannon, who's a photographer, she's also a high functioning autistic adult.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes photos and makes beautiful photos as well. And I mean, you talking with her, if she did not say that on that episode, I would have never known. Like the way she is functioning and everything, would have never known if she wouldn't have told us.
Yeah.
Like she was as perfectly and clear speaking and everything like that as you and I. Like we could have never known. Like,
I mean, I don't know. I just don't like to have a pity party or something. It's just, and it don't affect me that much, but I do know that it definitely affects other people within the same illnesses that, we all, or people in the mental illness field deal with. It hurts us more than you think. It lets us know that the world has not progressed really at all, and that we're still thought of differently, even when someone doesn't know that I have a mental illness. And for them to say things, and I don't stop them, I just let them get it all out. Whatever they want to say about it, however they want to say it, and then I correct them at the end, and I don't try to make them feel like crap about it. But when I go home at night, it's like, that's how much more work I have to do just to keep progressing forward. I'm not trying to, I do want to change the world. That'll be awesome. But if it just takes one person at a time, understanding that physical illness is just as equal as mental illness and it should be treated the same, that's, I guess that's all I'm going to harp about on that.
and it's thinking of progression of people in that field and working. We had a lady from Australia, and she said for the entire country of Australia, they only had 2,500 what was it, psychologists or
It's either psychologist or psychiatrist, one of the two.
and for the entire population of Australia, which was
a country,
which is
not a state,
a
country.
And that totally was like,
but on the contrary, I like saying that word.
Yeah.
Australia has a heck of a lot more mental health days that are required for all businesses to provide to their employees than I can only think of one or two companies off the top of my head that even offer one mental health day. And I've had 4 or 5 jobs. I've never worked for a company that actually has a mental health day where I can just call in and be like, hey, not doing well. I'm going to use my mental health day. And then them not be able to strike that against me or nothing. Never had a company like that.
Yeah, I've worked at a couple of companies in Birmingham and surrounding areas, and the job I'm currently at is really easy to take a mental health day. But the other ones that I've worked for never mentioned anything about hey, if you're having something with your mental health, you have a couple days or a free day to just call in and be like, hey, I'm not doing well. I need to take the day off, and they'll be like, okay. Usually, if you had a problem, and this is really weird, but usually when you had a problem, the employee or employer, the employer would get angry. Like, why aren't you coming in? Like,
or not only that, they were like, I won't say anything about the company or the days, but if I have to use a sick day, which is how it's labeled, I'm required to bring in an excuse. Rather than if you use a mental health day, there's no ifs and buts about it. Okay, go ahead, take the day off. You're
right,
fine.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow. I hope you have enough rest. That's how it should be. rather than I have to prove to you that something's wrong with me, that I can't come into work for you.
Yeah.
So that's pretty messed up.
It's wild. It is super wild. And, mental health does not have any boundaries. It can cover any person under the sun. So, there are people out there. There are groups to talk about it. We even have a forum on, what is that website? I'd have to think about it. But
It's what is that website.com?
no,
I'm just kidding. Don't look that up. I don't know what that even shows
I
up.
don't know
So
what
please
that-
don't look that up. That was not from us.
I don't know what that
I'm actually curious.
Discord. We have a Discord.
Oh, yeah.
So you can come join our Discord and we can have all the conversations you want, and you can remain anonymous with your name because you can make your own name up. But we'd love to have you on Discord and everything talking about these things because we love seeing comments. We love getting feedback from everybody. And I think it's important that it starts off with you. And why is that important? Why, Jeremy? Why is it important?
I don't know. I thought you were going to do something clever there and say it's because there's a why in you. Why is that important? Because there's a why.
Yeah, because you have to figure out your why.
Yeah. Like, why?
Why are you doing something? Why is it important to me?
Oh, I'm doing it for me.
Exactly. You're doing it for you because you're the main person providing for you, and I know you have kids, so you have to provide for them, and you appreciate your kids and enjoy your kids, but if you're not doing well, then everybody else, it trickles down.
But I exist on this earth, and I've chose to stay on this earth because of me.
Exactly.
I have chose to remain sober because of me. I choose to go to work because of me, and I choose to get paid because of me. Yes, all those things do benefit to my children because I take care of them. But if I didn't do it in that order and for those reasons, then my children won't be took care of.
Exactly. And you have environments that you have to deal with. You have different people that you have to deal with as well. So what are some ways we can make mental health staple and make it stable in open conversations about, or just in general topics in the home, in the workplace, those places where, or even just in general population, where we can have an open conversation and talk. How can we make that stable? Because that's really where I want us as a society to go, is when we can have open conversations and we don't have, any judgmental factors on somebody's mental health.
I don't know if that was a question for me or not, or for them, but I was going to answer it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's for them to ponder. And for
yeah. I think it's got to come equally from both sides. Just like I was explaining earlier, when you hear in a conversation, if you're someone with a mental illness and you hear in a conversation of something that makes you upset, don't let that push you to the edge to either snap on that person or push you to the point where you don't want to say anything about it and you just muster through and then go on your way and, go home or whatever and don't ever bring it up. Be respectful, be professional, be an adult, bring it up as the person says. Say, hey, I'm not trying to call you out or anything. I just want to make it aware to you that the way that you worded that, or that one word that you used, is actually offensive to people that have mental illness. And if you have to at that point, this is where I'm saying you should own it and you should be proud of it, is if they don't know it already, let them be aware. Say, hey, I have bipolar 1. I'm not trying to make you feel bad for what you said or anything like that. And it doesn't really affect me that much, but I know it affects people a lot more. And I just want you to be aware of it for when you're having a conversation in public with other people in a group, when you don't know a person who can have a mental illness or not, and definitely like a stranger, that you don't offend someone just because of something that you said. Because like I gave the examples earlier, there are tons of things that people avoid in a conversation and easily choose their words so it could be politically correct. So we need to start doing that for phrases and words for mental illness. And just like coming from the opposite side, if you're the person that said that and the person with mental illness is confronting you, be open. Don't, feel like you're attacked. Don't get angry that they're calling you out or anything, because
Right.
they're not. They're just wanting you to be aware of it.
They want you to active listen.
Yeah, it's not that you're in the wrong. You're not the grammar police or anything. We're not trying to like shut you down. We don't want you to quit talking or nothing like that. It's just just be like, oh, okay, but it's like, my bad. And I'm sure the person says, you don't owe me an apology. It didn't offend me or anything. I just called it in your sentence, and I wanted you to be aware of it, and then just accept that, and then realize it and be like, oh crap, I didn't really understand that bipolar was so offensive, to say as like a word. I thought people can just say it. It's like being hot or cold, or like happy and sad or nothing. When it's much more than this happy and sad. We experience a whole lot more than just happy and sad as being bipolar. So, just accept it and just be like, okay, I'll avoid that word next time. Or when you want to use that word, you can use it correctly. Hey, I have a buddy that, has bipolar, and he's a great guy, blah, blah, blah. Or, and he's doing well now. So don't worry about your son. I know he just got diagnosed, but, and don't put people's business out there, but you can relate with other people. And that's when you can use the word properly. Don't just use it casually in a conversation, especially when you don't have that illness.
Yeah, I think that's a good way.
A two-way street.
A good way to look at it, because you want to inform the person who may have said something, but coming from the person who has the mental health disorder, you don't want to because anxiety is a thing. You don't want to get anxious trying to explain it to somebody, and then get aggressive towards you. So.
I guess for the person with mental illness, you have to be prepared for this ahead of time. Go ahead and have a conversation that you're not going to be able to avoid it. You're going to hear things in other people's sentences that you're going to be able to pick up easier than everyone else in the conversation, because you've been experiencing mental illness. You've been in the hospital with people who has different illnesses, and you know how people are triggered, and you know how people are offended, and just be prepared for that. Don't get angry at it. We all live in society together. We need to work together to break all this stigmatism down so we can coexist equally.
Yeah, because I feel like when you look within, and I've said this on a guest episode on one of the podcasts that we do, everybody has their inner child inside of them. And that inner child was raised with innocence, right?
Born with innocence.
The child is born with innocence. You, as a viewer, as a listener, as a friend, as a co-host, we were all born with our innocent selves. We were all born innocent, and we were taught, and we learned different things, and we had different opinions and different things, brought about us, and different sayings like, you don't have to be sad, rub some dirt in it, toughen up, buttercup, We were all raised a different way.
Shut up, you little girl. You can just get your... Never mind. Flashbacks.
Yes, flashbacks.
Sports was the worst.
Oh, yeah, sports.
Man.
But we were all raised with innocence, so we were taught, these different things, so we can then, teach ourselves again to be more accepting. Because as a kid, you didn't care who you're hanging out with. You're a kid. You were having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could have fun with anybody in your classroom doing tag or running around the gym playing basketball. Like, you didn't care. You didn't have these pre-notions put on you, You didn't have these, oh man, that guy's so bipolar. Kids weren't saying that, back in the day. Like, you were taught these things and these sayings and phrases and stuff like that. So you can kind of unteach yourself and be more accepting and open to people with mental health, or your friends with mental health, or anybody who comes up to you.
I guarantee, and I know we're getting close to closing, but I guarantee every single adult out there that's listening, whether you have an illness, mental illness or not, or physical illness or not, guarantee every single one of y'all have lost your childhood innocence, whether it was robbed from you or you just grew out of it yourself. But most of the time, someone's had a specific event in their life or in their childhood where your innocence was ripped from you, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And if you go back to that, and this is something I do pride myself on, if you go back to that moment, if you go back to that child and you heal that child and you pick them up out of the dirt and you bring them with you back to where you are now, all of us can go, we can treat each other like we're back playing, on the playground. I was 10 years old. Yeah, it'll be different scenarios and different conversations, but the heart behind what you say will still be your inner child talking.
Yeah, and that's why you can look around and look within. And I'm happy that that's the phrase for this year's Mental Health Awareness Month, and really makes me proud that people are listening in and and just actively participating in what we're trying to be. We're glad for all the people who are Spoon Army people out there. We love everybody who
purchased that merch. We got some more coming out. Got some stickers if people
my God,
want them. Window decals, DM us.
We'll produce more stickers if you want.
Shoot us a message, comment, wherever, YouTube, and
Instagram.
We'll get you some stickers.
Also, something to look forward to next weekend. This was something that I enjoyed doing research on, is weird things people do.
Oh yeah,
episode 2.
Yes.
So if you like learning about weird things that people do,
or weird things that we do,
I think you'll be tuning into next week's episode. But with that, I appreciate all of you listeners out there. We hope you have subscribed and followed us and liked and commented on everything: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Buzzsprout, of course, and Spotify if you listen to Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you listen to the podcast. I'm proud of you, and I know Jeremy is proud of you for everything that you've gone through. So thank you, and I appreciate being a part of Mental Health Awareness Month and this whole journey that we've been on. I'm McCall.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we'll talk to you next time on the Golden Spoon Podcast.